I'd been Chris Blackwood's secretary for 3 years when he got engaged. His fiancée demanded he fire all his female personal staff. My name was on the list. As compensation, he offered me a blind date with his brother. He's richer than me, great in bed, he'd said with a wink. Just one catch, he has a kid. You don't mind, do you? I didn't mind. After all, that child was mine. Adrian Blackwood and I had a history. Chris didn't know. If he did, he wouldn't be so carelessly dangling this in front of me after working me like a dog for 3 years. I was 22 when I was with Adrian, fresh out of college, clumsy and naive. I mistook him, the heir to a corporate empire doing a field inspection, for another down-on-their-luck applicant who just bombed a job interview. He looked the part. His bespoke suit was rumpled and streaked with dust. He was sitting on a curb, eating from a sad-looking takeout container, a thick stack of documents beside him. He looked completely defeated. I'd just been rejected for a position myself, and I was feeling emotional. I bought 2 hefty roast beef sandwiches, extra meat, and gave one to him. Here, I said. Yours is all lettuce and dry meat. You need something that'll stick to your ribs. I sat a few feet away, feeling a wave of pity for him, and for myself. I imagined how miserable my life would be if I couldn't find a job. Would I end up sitting on a street corner relying on the kindness of strangers for a meal? I was so lost in my own self-pity that I missed the series of expressions that crossed Adrian's face. Shock, disbelief, and finally a flicker of amusement. Over that one meal, we exchanged a few stories. And our names. It was the beginning of a beautiful mistake. I assumed his background was as ordinary as mine, and Adrian, for his own reasons, was more than happy to play the part of a regular guy. I started running into him everywhere. Each time it felt like a coincidence. By the time he asked me out, I was convinced it was fate. The illusion shattered in a scene straight out of a cheesy romance novel. I was in a luxury department store on 5th Avenue, picking out a Christmas gift for my boss's most important client. And there was Adrian, casually dropping a fortune. He stood with one hand in his pocket, his posture relaxed, almost lazy, as he patiently advised a young woman on her selection. When she finally chose a purse, he let out a quiet sigh, waved a hand, and told the clerk to put it on his account. Just the night before, he'd been in my tiny rental apartment, whining about his demanding boss and begging me to rub his temples. I thought about it for a long time. Should I keep up the charade, or should I confront him and demand compensation for the lie? In the end, I chose neither. I took the option that cost me the most. I called him out and I asked for nothing. He wasn't surprised. He admitted who he was, plain and simple. Then, he invited me to his home. His real home. The sprawling estate was worth more than I could earn if I started working in the Stone Age. In his study, I saw stacks of files. He was a responsible heir, it turned out. That day we first met, he had been inspecting a port, a key project for the Blackwood Corporation that had run into trouble. He had spent the entire sweltering summer day on the construction site with engineers, poring over blueprints and data, revising plans, and reallocating resources. The stack of papers I'd seen was the meeting minutes. No one had expected the company's heir apparent to show up unannounced, so no special meals had been prepared. When lunchtime rolled around, he just grabbed his notes and a cheap lunchbox and sat on the curb to eat while he waited for his subordinates to report back. And then I showed up. I felt like such an idiot. How had I not noticed the price of his watch, or the impeccable cut of his suit? He asked me if we really had to break up. He said that for him, love was about interests, and it didn't matter who it was with. I was 24. Young enough to believe love couldn't be built on deception. It's not the same, I said. We're not the same. I didn't cry. I didn't even say a proper goodbye. I just got in a cab and left, as calmly as if I'd just been laid off from another job. But fate had other plans. A month later, I understood the importance of money all too well, because my period was late.